Hi, friends. Hello, and welcome to another video. We are live today. It is Sunday in beautiful Guangdong in China. And today I'm joined once again by Mr. Jerry Gray for our show here in my channel, Fernando Munoz Bernal, and the 3Ms, where we peel the layers of misinformation to give you the truth about what China is all about. And tonight, tonight for you, today for us, right? We're going to be talking about who's cheating at the Olympics with all these situations that are taking place between accusations of doping and WADA and US ADA and China ADA, all these accusations of this back and forth. We're going to try to clarify what's actually taking place for you, giving all the information that has come out recently. So, first of all, let's welcome in Mr. Jerry. Great, Jerry. How are you today?
Great. Thank you. Really good. Beautiful Guangdong morning, as you say. It's going to be a hot one, though.
Yes, indeed.
37, 38, I think, today.
Mm-hmm. All right. So we're gonna touch on. We're gonna focus mostly on the situation with cheating, right? Doping. So we're gonna start where everything started, so to speak, with this um, 2024 Paris Olympics, and was when Pan Zhanle won the 100-meter freestyle. That was a really, really impressive swim. He did a 46.80, if I'm not mistaken. And some of the allegations that came from there was one Australian um, former competitive swimmer and now uh, American citizen training swimmers in the US who did something that, and I want to ask you, Jerry, what you think about that. He was saying that it is impossible. He says that it's not humanly possible to beat that field.
Mhm.
Um, it's just not possible.
By a body
Now,
length,
my
yeah.
take on this is that this is racist, and that's what I put out to the world with my video, which has now gone viral.
Yeah, it has.
What do you think?
I agree it's racist. I mean, if an American had won by that, he would not have made that video. It's as simple as that. He would have
Hmm.
been saying, look how good the Americans are because they're able to win by a body length. It's happened before. Swimmers have won by a body length before. What we have in China now is not the China that he thinks he knows about because he's grossly misinformed about China. And he assumes that we're all living in some kind of dystopian nightmare where the sky is always gray and the water is always dirty. This road behind me is in China. I've cycled up this road and stopped to take a picture of it. Just to give you an idea of the blue skies that we do have. I've been out for a ride this morning. It's a beautiful day. Thanks, Trevor. It's a beautiful day today, and we have a clean environment. We have a healthy environment. We have good food. We have very few additives in our food that are harmful. And this is one of the reasons Australia has a problem with China. And one of the reasons Australia has a problem with China is because China won't accept some of their beef, some of their other products. But the problem is veterinarian residue that's left in foods. So China is importing foods, but only when it has a certificate of cleanliness. The reason China will not import lobsters from Australia at the moment is because they're not certified lead free. But those lobsters are being happily eaten in Australia. They're being happily eaten everywhere else. China is very, very strict on the quality of the food that it imports. And that goes completely against the grain, where people say, well, in China, you can go to a dirty market and catch COVID. You can drink bat soup and all of these other ridiculous things. The fact of the matter is, China has very, very high food standards. And as a result of that, a very high life expectancy now. It's as high as any other in the OECD, is higher than the United States. How do you get a high life expectancy? By having a healthy lifestyle. That's what we have here. And how do you get to be the best swimmer in the world? By having a healthy lifestyle with training, blah, 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 blah. It doesn't have to be on drugs. And the guy has never been tainted with drugs. He's never had a suspect test. He's been tested, and it's all negative. So now what this Australian coach is saying is he doesn't trust WADA. He doesn't trust Chinese drug doping, anti-doping organizations. He doesn't trust the Olympic Commission. And we found out since, and we're going to come to this topic, It's not China that's cheating in the drug taking. We
Hmm.
now know for a fact, that America are doing it, and he's coaching American swimmers. What does
I
that tell
made
you?
I made a couple of interesting comments when all this was coming out. The first one is that when you are saying that it's not humanly possible to do that, you're really restricting your employment possibilities in the future, because who's going to hire you as a coach if you already have a mental limitation saying that
Well, that's true.
that's not going to
He's
happen,
unlikely
right?
to
When
get a
you
job
actually
in
seen it
China, which
happen.
is where all the future coaching jobs will come, for sure. That's
That's the
what.
first thing. But the second thing is that a lot of people argue with me because I asked it in my video, right? I wanted to communicate with the audience, is this racism or not? To me, it is. And a lot
Yeah,
of people were saying, no, it's not racism. It's just jealousy. It's just sore losers. But there's a thing that I think that a lot of people forget. And I say, what do you think the slave owners from Bristol referred to the Africans when they were shipping them to America?
they were
They were
goods.
not human to them.
Yeah,
What
they were
about the
goods.
natives of America when they were being genocided by the thousands? They were not human to
Noble
those
savages.
doing the killing.
Hmm.
So, what do you think the Palestinians are to these
Yeah,
people
they're
that are
vermin. The
genociding
words
them?
that we use to describe these people, goods and chattels, slaves were goods, and Native Americans were noble savages. They're vermin in Palestine. I've seen that word being used. The vermin is a rat or a mouse. This is not
Yeah,
human. And then to come out and say
exactly.
this is not humanly possible when
Well,
a
no, here's
Chinese
the
guy
thing, because
does it,
he's giving us a choice. Yeah, Chalmers is giving us a choice. This is not humanly possible, or he's cheating. But
right?
not a single positive has come out. So
Yeah.
we are left with, well, the option that Chandler, no, Chalmers give us. He's not human. How do you not consider that racism? And that's the point that I've been making in my comments a lot. And I think that a lot of people have missed when they look at that particular incident with Chalmers. Um, Well, moving on to what took place a s- 7 days from now, last Sunday, when actually the relay team, the 4 by 100 medley male team competition took place, and once again it was Pan Zhanle who actually brought the team back from third place.
Yeah.
The butterfly swimmer from China had gone down with some health issues, so it was replaced last minute by the second one, and you could see how they went from being first at the second leg to being third at the beginning of the fourth leg, which was Panjangla's leg, and that was just an unbelievable swim. So by the
Mm.
time he turns around the first 50, he's already gaining on the leaders. By the time there's 25 left, he's already ahead, and he touches the wall first for China. That was just a unbelievable swim that actually broke the record that he had broken
Yeah.
on Friday. It went down to 45:92, I think, which is again, I have to bring back Chalmers, because Chalmers was caught on a podcast saying like, okay, with what Pan Zhangle has done now, should we be considering 45 seconds as a reality? Well, Pan Zhangle just gave it to you on a tray. There it
Yes.
is. Are you
And
still
he
going to
proved
be
he wasn't
racist
he
about it?
wasn't a freak. He wasn't it wasn't a one-off. He's proved that he can do it, and he probably will beat that again. Some because he's still very young.
It is
He's
beautiful. Well, there's a thing about swimming that I don't know if a lot of people understand, is that as swimmers grow older, they actually get faster
stronger.
because
Yeah.
their style, their form improves, their technique improves, their
Mm.
muscle up also improves. So, and experience and whatnot. So he's got two more Olympics to go in him, at least
Let's hope so.
2028 and
Yeah.
2032. So we could see him beating more records. And I don't know if the people have seen that interview that he gave to, I think it was China Daily,
Yeah.
and he said like, please do not air this interview before the Olympics. But he was actually bragging that. he could consistently do that 46. He was like, yeah, so I have everybody out there, all my competitors, thinking that that's what they need to beat. They need to beat 4680 when he knew he had more in him.
Yeah,
And that's a beautiful interview. And they've shown it now here on Chinese TV. And people are like, this is a kid that knows exactly how to play this game.
playing the
Well,
game.
maybe not just him, but right? He just tells them, okay, this is what I can do. It's better than you can do, but it's actually not everything he's got in the tank. That was amazing. Sorry,
Yeah.
guys, I have cat hair in my eye. Um,
How
what
do
was
you
your
get hair
take
in
on
your eye? You got
on
no hair.
cat hair? So tell me about it, Jerry. The accusation out of the swimming pool from the British guy, I think his name was Petey, was like, "Oh, you can't celebrate if you're not clean."
Mm.
That
True.
basically is what got everybody talking about. Well, that and Friday's swim by Pan Zhanle, about the incident of the 23 uh, Chinese swimmers who tested
Okay.
positive.
Well, the
So let's
US,
talk about that. Tell us the rundown because you did a very interesting video about that.
yeah, the US ADA. I've got their website up here. Have a statement from Travis T. Tygard regarding these. There's this one and the statement regarding informants. Now, two interesting statements on WADA. It's just usada.org/statement, and then you'll find it. Basically, what this guy is saying is that China covered up an incident where 23 doping cheats were caught. China covered that up. What actually happened was slightly different to that. China didn't cover anything up at all. China tested people. It was 1 month before the Tokyo Olympics. It was in a hotel. China tested a group of people and found that 23 of them were positive to the same thing. Now, all the coaches would have said, hang on a second, this can't be right. So what they did was they called up WADA and said, we've got a serious problem here. We've got 23 positive dope tests in a team, and we've got a load of people who are not positive, because don't forget the 23 is not the full team. There was a load of people not positive. And it turned out that the people who had eaten in the canteen the night before or a week before were testing positive, and the people who weren't eating in the canteen were not testing positive. So they checked the kitchens and the canteens, and they found tainted contamination inside of the food preparation area. So a Norwegian team, it was during COVID, so a Norwegian team went across to check this, or a Norwegian team was used to check this, independently verify and check this. I'm not sure if they actually went. I don't think WADA went to the hotel, but they were independently verified and found that there was contamination inside of the hotel room. It was checked, it was verified, and it's certain. Now, what USADA are accusing WADA and China ADA of doing is covering up. Well, you can't call that a cover up when China found something and told WADA what was happening. WADA investigated it independently, and China investigated it inside of their own team. And then WADA said, it looks like somebody has sabotaged your team. Now, who would do such a thing? Yeah, who would do such a thing? And the answer to that is nobody knows. We can speculate it was Americans, it was Australians, it was the Brits, it was the Japanese, whoever it was. Doesn't matter. We can speculate it was even more Chinese people. But somebody, it looks very much like somebody tainted them. They had been tested before and were negative. They were tested later and were negative. And during this year, that team has been tested 21 times per person on average, and all tested negative. So,
I I
go
I
on.
present it to people this way. I mean, when you put side to side what USADA did by not informing WADA of these positives who were allowed to continue to participate and
Yeah.
to earn money and whatnot in exchange for them becoming informants and only informing WADA 10 years later versus the situation of the Chinese athletes. And I
Mhm.
ask people, to use their brains for a second. Yeah, this is the what I've learned from great Jerry in thinking and asking the right questions. Um, if you're Chinese wada, if you're China Ada or
Giada,
Chanada, whatever you want to
Giada.
call it, right? You have an option. You cover it up or you clear them up. You cover it up or you contact water. Now, if you contact water, you are actually running the risk of having 23
Of your
swimmers
own athletes. Yeah.
being eliminated, being punished, being penalized, being out of the team, basically. So that decision had to be made. Is anybody given any worth to that decision? Not
Mm.
only because it was the right thing to do, but because it shows how sure they are that their swimmers are clean. Okay, let's go through an investigation. Let's check these people again to show you that this was an accidental situation. So
I
they're
don't think it
so
was
sure.
accidental. I mean, this is pure speculation on my part,
Mhm.
but I don't think that was accidental.
Well,
That's
ended up in their bodies without planning, without their
oh,
own planning. In that
in
sense, I
that
mean
respect, it's
accidental.
accidental, but I think it was quite deliberate.
Sure. So what I'm trying to say here is that nobody's actually talking about the fact that Chinese anti-doping association is so sure of how clean their swimmers are that they immediately contacted WADA, even though because of COVID they were not here, but they wanted to clear this up. Compare that behavior with a US ADA, with
Hmm.
USADA, and then ask yourself, who do you trust? Somebody who's coming to you for clarification, or somebody who is just keeping things under cover and under wraps and whatnot? That's one thing that a lot of people are not giving China um, enough appreciation for their actions.
Yeah.
They could have hidden it. I mean, think about it. It was so contained that they could have done it, but
Mm.
they chose the proper way, the
Yeah.
proper path is let's
It
clear
was
this
in a
up
training
at the
camp in a
risk.
hotel, and it was during COVID. I mean, there was no way they could have got caught if they had just covered it up. But what would have happened if they'd covered it up? Eventually, somebody would have whistleblown on it, and it would have been all over. So,
Exactly.
um,
I want to
go.
point something out here, something that I've also mentioned, I think, internally between our little group of WeChat friends. Trevor
Yeah.
is saying that China is getting richer, so now they can have better conditions to improve. Well, China's been rich for quite a while. China
Mm.
you know what I mean? They put a lot of effort into the Olympic teams for probably 2 decades or more.
Yeah, 20 years plus.
And they've been wealthy, right? But there's one thing that is going to change the future of Olympics and Olympic performances, and something that is connected to me is the double reduction, Jerry. Remember we talked
Yes,
about that?
we
Double
did.
reduction actually means that kids are not going to be spending so much time going to vocational training centers to get additional math lessons or additional physics lessons or additional chemistry lessons. They are freeing up more time. This allows them more time to spend out there doing sports, doing different activities. And that has been the transition that we have seen. It is related to what we're talking about. The transition from, well, spending their afternoons and their free time getting better at certain subjects, or actually learning different things, different arts
Yeah.
and sports and whatnot. So this is freeing up more time for Chinese kids to actually get even better, to to be able to find talent at a younger age, and faster, and well, it will have an effect. When the kids are
Yes.
allowed to play it outside, it will have an effect in the pool of talent that you can bring up to the Olympics. So that's a little note that I wanted to share out there. Um, okay, we I wanted to talk about some of the ridiculous things that have been said about the U.S. swimming team. There's this swimmer called Kalista Liu. She's a Korean American, and she tested positive and was allowed to swim.
Mm.
One of the reasons that she gave was that she got contaminated, or she got in contact with her dad's eye drops, and that the contamination took place actually through the bed sheets and the pillows.
Yeah.
What was your comment?
Does she sleep with her father? Unless she's sharing a, well, seriously, unless she's sharing a bed with her father, and I mean, we're talking about a young adult here, and she says she got into contact with this banned substance because her father has eye drops, and her father went to went to bed and she slept on the same pillows or sheets and got contaminated by that. I honestly, I mean, it's not beyond the realms of possibility. I just find it a little difficult to believe that that sort of thing happens. So there
Well,
is
Ted,
that.
thank you very much for your super chat. We appreciate it very much.
Mm.
Trevor again,
I
being
I
a
have a
true legend.
question related to WADA, not WADA, USADA,
Uh huh.
that maybe someone who's a better researcher than me can find out because I can't find the answer to this. And I've searched, I mean, I've scanned, I've spent a couple of hours going through the USADA website, which I've got open on my other computer right now. Now, they say, first of all, they say that they informed WADA that they had caught some cheats and allowed those cheats to compete. WADA say they knew nothing about it. Now, there's a bit of a contradiction there, but I'm inclined to believe WADA because I disbelieve almost everything the United States say, full stop. But they would probably have put this into the second last page of a 23-page document, and then they'll say, look, there it is. It's evidence. It's in black and white. But they didn't actually make a statement to say we have some drug cheats. Now, there's a couple of things. One is if you can't disclose who those drug cheats are, every single American athlete between 2011, I think it was, and 2020, every single American athlete is tainted by this. And that
Yeah.
makes everyone look at the United States team and say, who are the drug cheats? We know they are there. So let's forget about the therapeutic use exemptions, which we're going to talk about, which are a different thing, but another form of cheating. Like I call that legalized corruption. Is lobbying is legalized corruption. TUE is legalized doping. Um, let's forget that. I have the very, very serious question and I can't find the answer. So please, if anybody knows the answer to this, put it into the comments. How many drug cheats were caught and banned as a result of the scheme that they had in order to stop drug cheats from competing? So they said they caught people and allowed them back into the teams without any prosecution, without any punishment, just pretending they were completely innocent. And they allowed them to continue cheating so that they could catch more. How many did they catch? That information is unavailable.
Donald Wood, thank you very much for your super chat, guys. Your legends really appreciate it. There's also speaking truth from Malaysia. Thank you
Yeah,
so
I think
very much,
that's
guys. Um, the question that Jerry's asking and the situation that I tweeted something at people as like, who was it? Who was it? If you keep on not telling people who was actually the cheat, anybody could be blamed. And I mean, they're not very smart in that sense, as Jerry
mm,
pointed, because everybody gets under that blanket of, well,
yeah.
there are three people,
There,
and you're not
there are
telling us the
probably
name.
thousands
It's
of
like it's
US
like like
athletes
it's
right
like
now
the
saying,
if
why
I
don't
may
you
say,
tell us who it is?
it's like the Ghislaine Maxwell Black Book.
Yeah.
I mean, why won't you reveal the list of the people in that Black Book?
Well, they
Is the
say it's
same.
for
Like, why
safety.
wouldn't you reveal? Oh, because there were security issues. There were security threats on the swimmers, right? That tested positive. I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, that's the lamest excuse to choose to actually taint everybody in the swim
Mm,
team
mm.
in America. Um,
Well, that's the choice they take.
I wanted to move on to this purple face scandal. The purple face scandal has gone all over the internet and is
It has.
um,
The
extremely
Smurfs.
interesting because once they finish their competitions, right, they all come out of the swimming pool with really red faces, sometimes to the point of being purple. Some people were trying to say, oh, it's because the skin pigmentation is different, as in, again, throwing the race card here. But even the Korean American swimmers, whose race is different, right? They show up purple.
Yeah,
So that became the Thanos team, right?
the
Like,
Thanos team. That's right.
that
I
was
had to look
extremely,
up who
extremely,
Thanos was. I didn't know.
yeah. One of those Marvel movies. We're too old for
I
those,
had no
that
idea.
kind of movie. But anyway, um, so that started the whole discussion about these TUEs, or the therapeutical use exemptions, in which if the doctor says that you can use a certain medicine, amphetamines, for example, or other uses, like uses drugs used to treat asthma or um,
ADHD
HDHD, or
and
things
depression.
like that,
Mm,
then if the doctor prescribes it to you, then it's okay.
yeah.
Now, we're relying then on doctors who would
Work for
do
the sports teams.
work for the sports teams, or who are as ethical as doing like sex change surgeries on minors, doctors who are not able to control the fentanyl epidemic. Fentanyl is a drug that is used all over the world without issues, only in America is a problem. I mean, there's an issue when you rely on doctors that don't have a very clean track
Yeah.
record.
Well,
So
there's another little problem. If I can just add this, interject this
sure.
before you go on, because I think this might be important as well. There are 200 teams competing in the Olympics because we have a refugee team, a Hong Kong team, a Taiwan team, and we have teams that don't belong to that do belong to a country but act as separate entities. So there's almost 200 teams. Three teams have 63% of all, and one team has most of them, of all the therapeutic use exemptions. Three teams. Do you know who they are?
Well, I know that there's America with over 60% of the applications being admitted to. There was like 600 and something, and
Yeah.
543 were okayed. So that's the US on one side. Which are the other two?
Australia and France.
Huh.
Now, Australia is an interesting one. I'm an Australian, and I can remember about 20 years, 25 years ago, there was an Australian swimmer who was an asthmatic. And I thought, what a bloody hero this kid is. This is how naive I was. What a hero this kid is, being an asthmatic and dragging himself to the pool every day and pushing himself beyond those asthmatic limits in order to compete. Well, then I found out that he's not really that asthmatic at all. He's
Hmm.
a therapeutic use exemption asthmatic. And I mean, this is 25 years ago, so he's no longer competing. But I thought at that time how great it was that an asthmatic, and I've got a daughter who's asthmatic, and I would say to her, look, you can't use your asthma as an excuse not to exercise because here's an Olympian doing it. But in fact, I found out that he was only asthmatic because he was an Olympian. He wasn't an Olympian who was asthmatic. And this is really disappointing to me. I was very naive in thinking that was the way. This poor kid dragged himself to the pool, puffing and panting, and ended up as an Olympic champion.
This admiration that people have for okay, people who have certain conditions and they go out
Mm.
there and they succeed, like the track and field, the 100-meter gold winner that is American. Um, he posted before the company, or after winning the 100-meter gold, right? It's like, oh, I have asthma, I have ADHD, I have this, like
Yeah,
he listed
yeah, yeah.
three or four of these um, problems that are actually
It was
problems that are going to
one
allow you
once he
to
was
abuse.
diagnosed. It was a diver, actually. He was a British diver. Once he was diagnosed with asthma, ADHD, and depression, his diving got better.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
So
He
K-pop
oh, in
billionaires said,
helping with the
why
focus.
can't US compete in diving? They can and they do, but they're just not as good. I mean,
Uh-huh.
again, we're gonna use the racist card. Chinese people are quite often, they're not always, but they're quite often smaller. They do have, particularly in Guangdong, where that gorgeous young girl Chuan is from Zhanjiang, which is just a little way south of here. And I mean, there are small people. My wife is a small person, and you know, we know that local people here are a little bit smaller than up the north. So there's a range of different sizes, but a lot of the smaller people come from the south. And I think a lot of this is about gymnastics, size, weight, healthy food. You want to live on KFC and McDonald's, you ain't going to perform in the diving team, that's for sure.
Maybe you can perform in the breakdancing. I
Oh, did you
am.
see the Australian breakdancing? Oh my God. What happened? Who thought that was a good idea? She
How did
didn't
she?
win.
I mean, if she was the one who won the qualifying, I
It was the
can't
best they had.
imagine what the others were.
She was the best they had. Oh God.
No doping in breakdancing, guys. No, okay,
Well, maybe
but let
she
us go
was
on.
dope. That's why.
Maybe that was it. Like I understand purple faces if you're swimming in the Seine, right?
Yeah.
You come out of that swim and you're like, "Ugh," because that water was really not good. There's shots of the swimmers just going past sewer waste pipes.
Yeah.
Like
I think they're
who thought
drainage.
of that?
They're rain drainage rather than sewage, but yeah, it's still not nice. I hope
No,
they're
no,
rain
no, no.
drainage,
And the
not
color of the
sewage.
water is anyway.
When I first
There was
came to
a
Zhongshan, our local river had that. The local sewage just poured straight into the river. It was, I mean, the stench was disgusting. That's all
hmm,
changed now. I mean, the river, I was actually cycling past the river this morning and I said to the guy I was riding with, I said, can you smell that? It actually smells like a river. And he said, yeah, but you still wouldn't want to swim in it. I said, I wouldn't have even wanted to row in it 10 years ago. So now it's better. Mm,
okay. This is funny. Sorry. Thanks, guys, for your comments. Mahjong for the Olympics.
great idea. Oh, someone
Yeah, good
introduced
idea, man.
chess. I mean, there's a
Why
difference
is
between a
chess?
sport and a game, isn't there?
Probably.
Mm, yeah,
Okay. On the purple face thing. Now
yeah,
there's another controversy that is really infuriated Chinese, particularly in social media. People say that oh, there's no freedom of speech in China. Oh, you should see Chinese social media. It apparently the the U.S. embassy in China posted photos of their swimmers, and they altered the color of the faces to not represent what we can clearly see on TV. Those purple faces,
yeah.
they've actually photoshopped them to not look purple. And the comment sections under that post, people are so um why who okayed that? Did Nick Burns, the
Nicholas
American
Burns of the
ambassador to China?
BBC. It's just like the
Yeah, he's going
BBC.
full on BBC with what they did to Jason.
Jason,
Remember,
Jason Lightfoot. Yeah,
they took his video and they changed the color of his video to make it all very grayish and whatnot.
yeah,
Now they're altering photos of swimmers that we saw just. I mean,
yeah,
billions of people around the world saw those purple faces. You trying to pull one on Chinese? That is not going to happen. But the question is why? Why do that?
yeah,
Why try to the more you lie, the more you cover, the deeper people are going to look into what you're trying to cover.
yeah.
And this is not over. And this brings a lot of concerns for 2028, which is going to be in the United States. Um, a lot of
Maybe.
people a lot of people are talking about, well, you're gonna have to have your own special logistics if you go to America because the possibility of people tampering with your things and ended up testing positive for this or that are going to be much larger when you are in their territory. People were complaining about all the cleaning up that went on in Paris to stage the Olympics. Well, imagine what they're going to do with all the tent cities and do you know what I mean? All the
Yeah,
cleanup.
yeah,
So, is there going to be a safe Olympics in LA? That's a question that a lot of people are asking in terms of safety, security, and all these things, but also in terms of doping and the
yeah,
possibility of being targeted in your food and your clothes. Somebody said that they were trying to swap water bottles and things like. It becomes the
There have
spirit
been,
of the Olympic is gone when you start
yeah,
discussing these things because they're taking center stage.
there have been two incidents that I'm aware of where a Chinese member of a team has been handed something that is tainted. Two instances I'm aware of. This will all come out after the Olympics, I'm sure. One was a journalist handed a bottle of water to a gymnast, and somebody else, not a gymnast, a diver, I think. And the other one was a gymnast who was given a couple of sweets, candies, lollies, sugar, whatever word you like to use, and those sweets were tested and found to be tainted, and the water was tested and found to be tainted. Now, when that sort of thing happens, you've got criminal liability. So that's an error. I mean, if they're doing that and thinking they're getting away with it, they're not. We already have a situation where teams carry their own food with them. They live, they eat and drink and live in a place that is basically a sterile environment, and they carry their own food, water. America has been doing that for many, many years. You'd have to wonder why America does that, why America started doing that. And the reason is possibly because they were already tainting other people. Who knows? We'll just never know that for a fact. But there have been incidents of that. What's going to happen in Los Angeles? First of all, it may not even have the Olympics. Los Angeles may not have the Olympics. Salt Lake City may not get the Winter Olympics unless WADA and USADA can resolve their differences. Because currently, WADA have no rights to test an American athlete in America. So most American athletes are not being tested by WADA before they come to the Olympics. They can be tested at the Olympics. There's no question about that. When they come to the Olympics,
Hmm.
WADA has authority over the Olympic Games venues and the sporting teams. But they can't test in America. America have made their own rules. And so that having made their own rules, they then say, well, we're not going to allow other people because we don't trust WADA. We trust USADA, but we don't trust WADA. And that's what's going to happen. I think there's going to be a dispute about that, and America are going to have to agree. Otherwise, they won't be allowed to host the Olympics. It's as simple as that. You can't have this degree of uncertainty, which we do have right now about sports, and all the scandals that are happening as a result of it. You know, the what I think is the sabotage of the Chinese team in their hotel, and the knowledge now, the absolute knowledge and the admission that they have had tainted athletes at the top level performing as informants for them. So these kind of scandals have stopped WADA and the International Olympic Federation from doing stuff. They're basically going to say to America, you've got to conform. If you don't conform, you're not getting the next Olympics. And I don't know who will. Maybe Beijing again.
Trevor,
Yeah,
once again,
yeah.
thank you so much for your support for our work. He's asking, he's pointing out something very interesting. I mean, these organization in Paris, and perhaps is going to connect to the wokeism of this Paris Olympics. But the whole idea of offering these athletes rooms without air conditioning, buses
Really?
without air conditioning, that has a huge effect on your performance
Especially
when you
Paris in
are,
August.
yeah, you're not able to control the temperature, or
Mm,
these beds made of cardboard just to be green, when people are used to stay in very comfortable hotels throughout the year, and then their sleep
mm.
pattern or the sleep comfort is compromised because you don't have air conditioners, or because the bed is too hard, or because do you know what I'm saying? Or because they're cramped.
Or
um
because you have to wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning to give a test.
I was gonna get onto that.
Sorry.
So it's going to be interesting because it's not like a team can say, "Oh, you provide us accommodation, but we're gonna stay in a five-star hotel." They
Mm.
can't do that. They have to stay within
In
the
the
Olympic
Olympic
villa.
Village. Yeah.
Um, so this has been huge backlash for the Paris Olympics as well. This whole idea of going green and not providing air conditioner to athletes is key. Like you're not gonna give them hot water either, for example. I don't know. Um,
Mm.
Now I wanted to talk about what we are nearing, which is the closing ceremony, and preface that discussion with the opening ceremony.
Mm.
Trevor, thank you so much. The opening ceremony, which was unbelievably um, controversial,
Yes.
to say the
Yeah, it
least.
was.
Um,
Um,
what do
I'm
you
not
think?
religious at all, but and it's very hard to offend me. But I can see why many people would have been offended. You take a religious iconic artwork and turn it into a transgender promotion. Honestly, I understand. I'm not a person who has a problem with any gay LGBTQI whatever. I have a gay daughter. I have a gay brother. My brother has been married for over 20 years to the same husband. My daughter is still single, but still looking. I'm very comfortable around gays, very comfortable. I'm comfortable around trans, no problem at all. But I don't think they should be glorified. They're 1 or 2% of the population. They should certainly be protected in the same way everybody else is protected. And that's what China does. It says that person's entitled to the protection under the law. They don't make special laws for those people, nor do they promote the glorification of those people, but they do protect them, and I think that's the way it ought to be. Um, what what can you say about this? I mean, it wasn't offensive to me because I'm not religious, but I can understand why hundreds and hundreds of people think that it is offensive.
Nick,
Thousands,
thank
millions
you
of
very
thousands.
much for your contribution. I just wanted to say something else about the opening ceremony and something that has also been on the airwaves since 2 days ago or something. Um, the idea of freedom of speech and censorship. There was a video of one lady, a dissident from Hong Kong, questioning Victor Gao about freedom of speech. Do you know that a lot of the reruns of the opening ceremony were shut down? Like they weren't playing anywhere else. Now, I'll talk about the reruns in China. The reruns in China were actually edited to cut out parts that they themselves considered were not good for
Appropriate.
families, so to
Yeah.
speak. They were not good for families. Um, so there's an element of discussion and questions to be asked when you take a universal event or a global event, okay, like the Olympics, and you're trying to push down into people's eyeballs
Hmm.
your perception of what's freedom and what's right and what's wrong, um, instead of taking the approach of okay, let's do something that will not offend people, either religiously or because of nudity and things like that. Um, that to me was something that I appreciate from China doing, from CCTV doing, actually chopping up some of those bits that
Yeah. Yeah.
a lot of people were commenting like, why are those two children, why are those two men kissing? This is not the place to be showing a mixed gender, mixed a ration threesome.
Yeah.
Like, like,
Agree. Agree.
please. There's a place and there's a time and there's an audience for those things. Not playing prudish here,
Yeah.
but
It's a
the
fact
Olympics
of
is
life.
not it.
I view this, and I know that you do too, because I've seen your Twitter comments. But I view this quite seriously. There is a moral degeneracy that has crept into the public forum that doesn't belong there, and that's my view. Now, everyone says, "Oh, well, you're just an old-fashioned kind of a guy." Yeah, perhaps that's true, but I think nudity does not belong on public television, and neither does any glorification of any of the variations of our genders. I don't have a problem with the genders. I do have a problem with understanding them because I live in China where you're either male, female, or other, and you can be other. You're male,
Yeah.
female, or other. And here's an interesting thing: you can change your gender in China quite legally, quite
Yes.
legitimately. But that's
Yes.
it.
I
You're
actually
still
learned
either
about
a
that.
male or a female, and until you have changed your gender, you are what you were born with. That's it's so much simpler here. It really is, and
It really
a
is
lot of
interesting when
people
I
are
found out
agreeing
that
with.
there's actually a box when you're because my wife had to change her ID because we changed her whole code when we bought
Yeah.
our home. And there's a box that actually says like, "Are you changing your
Are you
sex?"
changing gender? Yeah, yeah.
Like, well, gender, yeah. I was like, "That's," and people say, "Oh, China's so backward." Okay, the title of this video is about cheating.
Yeah.
And I think we could definitely involve the Algerian boxer who just won into this. I think that the fight that we saw between the Algerian boxer and the Italian boxer um, was an attempt at messing with the event.
Yes,
Um,
I think
she
so. The
saw
Italian boxer came out and
I never
said,
gotten hit so hard, and
"Yeah, that's it."
you and I would say that I am more ignorant than anything else. So I defer to you to tell us about this particular
So,
situation.
yeah, even my wife, and we were talking about this the day after that Italian fight, where this woman with kind of male genes has won that boxing and looked like she was going to go through. Now, remember that in the final, she beat a Chinese. And we didn't watch that final, but we did see a bit of parts of the replay of it, and she won fair and square. Now, when I saw this, my first thought was, what the hell are they doing allowing a man to compete? I thought that wasn't right. And the World Boxing or Women's World Boxing Federation or Association had banned her and a Taiwanese girl from
Hmm.
boxing at that level, at the world level. Now, why they banned both the Taiwanese and the the Algerian girl was because they have a very high uh, testosterone level, and they have an imbalance in their XXY chromosome. Don't ask me what it is, but there's an imbalance there that makes them more manly than girly. Now, there are a lot of girls who are manly and there are a lot of guys who are girlish. So I mean, let's just get over that fact. That's a fact of life. There are girls that look like guys, and there are guys that look like girls. That's the way it is. It's always going to be that way. Now, what then happened here was I went to look at this girl's history. She has been a girl all of her life. She was born a girl. She has perfectly good working girl parts. Everything down there is female. And she has been tested. She's been examined. She grew up as a girl. She went to school as a girl, but she boxed as a girl as well. And it wasn't until she started winning that people said, why is her testosterone a problem? Now, when you look at that kind of background, you say, well, if she's got this very high level of testosterone, she's more aggressive. Well, yeah, that's true. But she's still a girl. She's just a more aggressive girl. Now, let's put a little bit of an analogy into this. Imagine if one of us we have that genetic disorder where one of us is over 7'5" tall. I mean, we're really, really tall and we are good at basketball. We get into the team and we slaughter the opposition because I'm 7'7". I'm the second tallest guy in the world or something like that. And I happen to be fit, strong, and good at basketball. And you pass the ball to me high, I pick it up because no one can reach that height except me. And I drop it down into the basket because I'm taller. My reach is taller than the basket. So I'm going to win. My team are going to win everything. Can you ban me because I have a genetic disorder that makes me taller than you? This is what they're asking us to do. And that's what the World Boxing Federation or Association, I'm not sure which, when they banned the Taiwanese girl and this girl, that's what they've done. They've effectively said, we don't like your genetic disorder. We don't like the fact that it makes you more aggressive than other girls who don't have the same genetic disorder. But the fact is, this girl is a girl. It's not someone who's transgender or changing or anything like that. She's a girl with high levels of testosterone. Now, whether or not she's lesbian, whether she wants to trans, I don't know, and I don't really care. The fact is, she is a girl, has always been a girl, and she's fighting other girls. She's not the guy who swims against the girls. She's not that person. And she's not the person who is cheating. Nobody's cheating when they put her in the ring. In the same way that nobody's cheating when they put a 7'10" guy in the basketball court. Simple as that.
Interesting is that in her record, she's lost a lot of times.
Yes, yeah, she's
She's lost
never
a
been
lot
a
of times.
great. Yeah, she's come good. I mean, maybe we can discuss why she's come good all of a sudden, and maybe she's a dope cheater. Who knows? I don't know the answer to that. But the fact is, she's doing what she's been doing all of her life, and that is fighting. She's a
Uh-huh.
professional boxer. That's what she does, and because of her um, genes, genetic makeup, she is more aggressive and stronger than most girls. But she's still a girl.
I think there's a thing that a lot of people are a little bit thrown about this is the fact that she's from Algeria, which is a very Muslim country,
Yeah,
predominantly Muslim
yeah.
country. Um, and in that sense, you've seen participants in other from other Muslim countries. For
Mm.
example, I watched a video of of a player playing with her hijab, and
Mm.
somebody pulls the hijab, and then they stop the game, and then they just go around her until she rearranges her hijab so that people
Okay.
cannot see her hair. So there's a level of respect for her religion even in the arena of sport.
Mm.
So a lot of people are asking, okay, but if she's from Algeria, this question right here, do people think that there are actually transgender clinics in Algeria? I don't know the answer to that question, but that's a good question. um, and there's a lot of photos out there of people touching her, like when she won the gold, right? She got
Mm.
on the shoulders of her coach, and he's actually got his hands inside her thighs, and just walking around. So um, that's that's something that people are asking. I don't have the answer to that,
Neither do I.
but it's something to consider. Now, there's other things that have changed the Olympics to make them even more complicated. There have been so many commentators and narrators. Let me remove this 1 second. Who actually go and oh he oh no 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 it's a she, oh no no it's a they them. I'm like people register for the Olympics, and now narrators are having trouble actually narrating the sport because they have to include their pronouns.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know how I feel about that. I mean, this whole idea of um, i- i- perhaps we're old, Jerry. Perhaps we're old. That's
That's
what
where
I'm
old.
saying. Perhaps
There
I'm
is
old.
not a transgender games yet, and if there is,
Yes.
that would be fine. I don't have a problem with that either. But I think
Hmm.
transgender games needs to be separated from non-transgender or cisgender games. Um, when you're in the Olympic Games, you're either in a male sport or a female sport. There should be no
Hmm.
issues with your pronouns. I mean, they're creating a problem that isn't necessary. You're in the Olympic Games. You're either a male or you're a female, and you're performing in a team with males or females, unless it's a mixed doubles or something like that. But
Hmm.
basically, effectively, you're usually performing in a male or female role. There shouldn't be an issue with your gender, and there shouldn't be an issue with your pronouns. Now, in terms of narration, it gets extremely difficult because in the excitement they say she, and that person has said, I don't want to be identified as she. That becomes a problem. And I can't imagine any Chinese athlete ever saying that, but I can imagine a few American athletes saying it.
Mm.
Mm.
It's something that has been brought to the attention of a lot of sports channels, and then you have to be very cautious when you talk about people who identify as different races, sorry, different genders, and remember, in some parts of the world, you can change your gender from one day to the next. So, what if that were
Yeah.
to happen in the Olympics anyway? That's an extreme case, but it's throwing a bull curb into the world of sport and Olympics that perhaps needs a little bit more time to adjust and
Mm.
is presenting all these differences and all these difficulties
Yeah,
amongst
there's
people.
a couple of
Here's
comments coming in saying, "Why don't they have a transgender games? They have a Paralympic games for disabled people. Why don't they have a transgender games for people
because of
who?"
inclusion, because of inclusion.
Well, if you want to perform in a male sport, this is the criteria. If you want to perform in a female sport, this is the criteria. And if you fit into that criteria, you perform as you fit. If you want to perform in a non-specified, then you go into a different games. That's a possibility.
Well,
Nuri Fatashi made it.
there's an interesting precedent that I don't know if people know about. There's a long distance swimmer from South Africa called Natalie Todd. She actually used to be a swimmer in the regular swimming team, and then she had an accident. She lost a leg, and she started participating in the Paralympics, representing South Africa
Mhm.
or Australia. I think South Africa. Sorry, Natalie Dodd, South Africa, and but the thing is that she was so fast and so good that she was actually qualifying for the regular Olympics, and she was participating in both.
Right.
So if you open, yeah, she participated both in the Paralympics and the regular Olympics with half a leg missing.
If you
That's how good
qualify,
she
you
was.
qualify. Yeah, I have a
Exactly.
friend here he's actually semi-retired now. He won the silver in, I think he won silver or maybe bronze in Tokyo, but he's won Rio, London, and Beijing gold medals in cycling. He has one leg, and he's actually a friend of ours. He lives in Zhongshan, but he's
Natalie
a gold
Dutoit.
medalist.
Yes, yes, South African.
Natalie Dutoit, South African.
Yeah.
Thank you. I didn't know about her. I
Yeah,
think that's
she's
great.
amazing.
If you can qualify for both, why not? But then do the disabled athletes say, well, this is unfair? No. Why would they? She's disabled.
There was a show Joe Rogan had with some person talking about why not have an Olympics without rules. Just dope yourself all you want, and let's see who's best with training preparation and the technology that's out there to enhance performance. Uh,
Wow.
I don't know what people think about that. I don't know whether athletes would go for that because once you go that way, there's no going back. Does
Mm.
that have any future? The argument is that everybody dopes. Everybody does whatever is
Well, that was
within
Lance Armstrong's
the
argument.
boundaries.
Yeah.
Everybody does it within what's allowed. Whatever you can do to improve your performance, you will do it, and just testing the boundaries of what's allowed and what's not allowed. So,
Yeah.
following that
I think
argument,
you'd
would that
probably
make
find
sense to you?
a few people would die as a result of it. I don't think it'll ever happen. I can't see it ever happening. But it's more like the Hunger Games, anything goes.
Mm.
I could call it that. And the winning country gets the benefit of not being invaded by America for a year until the next one.
All right, guys, we've gone for almost an hour. I want to finish this show by asking Jerry one question. What are your expectations for the closing ceremony? Do you expect more controversy, more wokeism, or do you think that they've had 2 weeks to redo the whole thing
I
because
think
oh,
they
there
may
was a
have had
debacle?
2 weeks to look at it and say, well, let's cut this bit out, and we don't want, there may be, it may be slightly shorter version of what we once had. But I was going to mention something Nuri Vatashi said. The big pharma game's great one. That's very, very good one. Nuri Vatashi said, if this therapeutic use exemption, he said, if you've got asthma or you've got ADD, ADHD, or depression, and you can't train today, you take a day off. This is what normally happens when you go to work. If you have something wrong with you, you're sick, you take a day off. And he said the best thing, and I kind of agree with him, the best thing is to say to asthmatics, you can compete, but if you can't compete on the day, you take the day off. Sorry about that, because you're an asthmatic. Now, I'm not sure if that's a good solution, but it's the opposite solution to having the free for all. And I think probably it will it will cause controversy if it was brought in. But the therapeutic use exemption has to be resolved because at the moment it's just a legalized way of cheating, the same way as lobbying is a legalized way of bribery and corruption. Yeah, that's another thing.
Yeah.
China would not accept this. I mean, the marijuana games, you're getting 14 days detention if you just sniff it here. It's as simple
Yeah,
as
there was
that.
the Australian guy. I think it was Australian.
Cocaine, yeah,
Uh, yeah, who was caught buying cocaine, and he
yeah,
apologized. You should see the comments under that video. The guy apologizing for his actions. Why would you be apologizing? Everybody's entitled to just do a little cocaine here and there. Like making excuses for something that's illegal is just out
yeah.
there, Westoid.
I saw his
All right.
apology and I thought it was a little bit lame. Mm.
Yeah, it was like I got caught, and it messed up my reputation and the reputation of my
Oh,
country. I'm so
he's
sorry.
done
Like, bye
now.
bye. Turn
He's
around.
the French police have done the right thing by him. I think anyway. They've given him a caution and let him go. Uh,
Hmm.
so in that respect, that was probably the right decision. In China, I think if he well, I mean, the honest truth is, I don't know if it's possible to go out on the street and buy cocaine in China anywhere. And if he could
Oh,
do
try
that,
that.
well, good on him. It's just like,
All right, guys.
where'd you
Well,
go?
that's all we wanted to share with you today. So, up to you. Who is the real cheater? We talked about the situation between WADA and USADA, and that is really going to determine the future of fair games, clean
Yeah,
games, moving forward. So we need to keep an eye open for that discussion, so for that disagreement. The fact that the chief of USADA was caught lying, as Liu Xing very clearly put
Eugene,
it on
very
her
clearly,
video a
yeah.
few days ago. It's an issue. It's an issue. You got authorities doing what's right, yeah,
Mm.
even facing the consequence of having 23 swimmers being punished if anything went wrong, but they had that certainty, that certitude that they were clean, so they would go for it. So I think that the facts are there. It's very clear for people to understand who's actually the real cheat at this Olympics and in not professional but Olympic competition. um
Mm.
Congratulations to all the winners, all the
Yeah,
great success that the Chinese team has had. I think last
we've
I
seen
checked,
a
we are
lot of
38 or
sportsmanship in the games.
39 gold medals for China.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's very
China
close
is
this
one
year.
ahead of USA with 1 day to go.
Yeah,
It's close.
so so guys, thank you so much. All those of you who sent us super chats, you guys are the
Thank
legends.
you.
Thank you so much for your support. You know that 3Ms is a young channel, so I would invite you to please subscribe to the 3Ms if you haven't done so yet.
Yeah,
We
there are
actually,
usually three of us in the 3Ms.
yeah, there's usually three of us, but today Ian had to do something and couldn't join us. But we thought that this was a
He has
timely video to
visitors.
do.
His family are here from the UK at the moment.
Yeah, so yeah, the 3Ms is a channel that we would like to see do better. So with your help, maybe we can do it. We had 150 people. If you haven't subscribed to the 3Ms, please do so. And then yeah,
Tell your
uh,
friends.
it's it's what
It's
we do.
about media
We create content for
misinformation.
you.
That's why it's called the 3Ms. Media
Correct.
misinformation, manipulation. We've got a lot of M's that we can put in there. And there was
All right,
three other.
friends. Thank you so very much. And Jerry, enjoy the rest of your weekend, and we'll keep in touch. Everybody,
Will
like,
do.
comment, share, and subscribe. And until we see you again, take it easy and bye for now.
Bye for now. Thank you, everyone.